NV-GBE Fuel Clause Adjustment, May 2026. URSM Board responds to Minister Brugge's statements in Parliament. Public meeting of Parliament with the Minister of ECYS, Melissa Gums, regarding the levy on gasoline and diesel to fund sports programs. JNIS presentation, the MAC School performance at the Bel Air Community Centre in Cay Hill on May 5, 2026. From the island, St. Martin, this is SXM Daily News for May 14th, 2026. NVGEGE press release for May 11th, 2026. Ongoing geopolitical tensions and conflicts in the Middle East have contributed to unpredictable fluctuations in global fuel prices, directly impacting the cost of fuel required to generate electricity in St. Martin, which is beyond the control of NVGB. As an island that depends heavily on imported fuel for power production, changes in global oil prices can significantly affect operational costs. The fuel clause is therefore adjusted monthly to reflect the actual cost of fuel used to generate electricity. Consequently, NVGBE hereby informs the general public that the fuel clause for May 2026 has been adjusted to NAF 0.45 per kWh compared to NAF 0.36 per kWh in April 2026, reflecting an increase of 0.09 Caribbean Guilder cents. NVGB recognizes that any adjustments to electricity-related costs impact both the community we serve and the company's operations. As a community-minded company, we remain sensitive to the impact on our customers' daily lives while also ensuring the organization's financial stability. Therefore, NVGB remains committed to standing with our community through these difficult times with senior and community relief initiatives, as well as transparency, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to providing reliable energy service to our island. Peggy Ann Dross Richardson is speaking out at NVGBE on May 13, 2026, on the cost of fuel required to generate electricity in St. Martin.
The English language can be complicated for some, for most people, including myself. I myself catch myself sometimes going back reading things a million times to understand. So when I say that, I'm including myself. I want the people of St. Martin to go back to the NVGB Mother's Day press release on the fuel clause that went up by 9 cents to now 45 cents fuel clause. The press release specifically stated that it is effective for May 2026. A normal thinking person, which all of us are normal thinking for the most part, would assume that being effective of May 2026 means the consumption period of May 2026. You remember that the press release of NVGB went on to state that they're encouraging people to shut off airco, put the airco temperature at 21, with all kind of suggestions on how to cut and assist with the adjusted increase of the fuel clause. Listen to me carefully. But what NVGB failed to say is that the fuel clause is actually not effective for May 2026 because it covers the consumption period of April of 2026. Let me repeat it. The bills you're getting now shows a fuel clause increase of the 9 cents for the consumption period that has already passed. You cannot go and adjust your airco now for April because April gone.
On November 28, 2025, Member of Parliament Sarah Westcott Williams wrote once again to Prime Minister Dr. Luc Mercelina, following up on her August 17, 2025, letter regarding GB's governance, electricity relief, and consumer protection. On October 28, 2024, with the community's support, Echoing the demand for utility bill relief, Member of Parliament Omar Otley announced that he intends to bring forth a motion in Parliament to prompt immediate government intervention on behalf of struggling NVGB customers during the 2024 Budget Amendment public meeting. The Honourable MP emphasised the dire need for relief from the overwhelming financial strain, double taxation and inflated utility bills for residents and businesses stemming from the unresolved issues with NVGB.
I am calling on the board of NVGB to retract that decision and to retract those bills of April consumption at 45 cents of that fuel clause and implement the fuel clause for May consumption, not April, because you, NVGB, stated that the fuel clause goes into effect May of 2026. Learn to write English and learn to write it properly for people to understand what they're getting themselves involved in. I want for somebody to explain me how anybody could budget retroactively on a 45 cents fuel clause retroactive to a consumption period of April. Leave us, stop with playing stupid here with people. Leave us stop, because everybody know what is going on at this point. The consumption period for April should have remained at the previous fuel clause. What was it? 35 cents or 36, whatever it was. You're sending out bills now for the consumption period of April for the fuel clause that you increase. Unfair to people.
Prime Minister Dr. Luc Mercelina has formally addressed the Supervisory Board of Directors, SBOD, and management of NVGB following the utility company's announcement of an increase in the fuel clause from XCG 0.36 per kWh in April 2026 to XCG 0.45 per kWh for May 2026. In his correspondence, the Prime Minister acknowledged the global geopolitical tensions and fuel market instability impacting electricity generation costs worldwide, while expressing serious concern about the growing burden being placed on the people of St. Martin. On July 15, 2024, you can compensate the people for the grief caused by gross negligence. He also criticizes the failure to invest in green energy. A European Commission report in 2021 recommended a shift to green energy, which could reduce electricity costs by 30%. Despite NAFTA's 7.7 million guilders are being allocated for this transition, but progress has yet to be made. According to Richard Gibson Sr., the secrecy and deceit surrounding NVGB's fuel clause must end, and the monopoly held by SOL needs to be re-evaluated. The board of the Unified Resilient St. Martin Movement, URSM, has taken careful note of the statements made by Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labour Richard Brugge during Tuesday's meeting of Parliament, and believes it is important to address the matter in a responsible and balanced manner. The board categorically rejects the allegations directed at the Honourable Prime Minister Dr. Luc Mercelina regarding abuse of power, intimidation, bullying and interference in ministerial affairs. These accusations are reckless, unfounded, and do not accurately reflect the facts or the manner in which this government has conducted itself. The statements made in Parliament created an incorrect and damaging narrative against both the Prime Minister and URSM, one that risks undermining public confidence in the institutions of government at a time when the country requires stability, maturity, and responsible leadership. The Prime Minister has consistently carried out his responsibilities within the framework of the law, the Constitution, and the collective responsibilities of the Council of Ministers. The URSM board stated, "Disagreements on policy or administrative matters should never be distorted into accusations that unnecessarily damage reputations and create public mistrust. The board finds it deeply unfortunate that sensitive internal governmental matters were discussed publicly in a manner that appeared more focused on political sensationalism than constructive governance. While every minister has the right to raise concerns through the appropriate channels, public accusations of this magnitude must be grounded in facts and handled with care and responsibility. URSM also strongly rejects any attempt to portray the party or its leadership as engaging in wrongdoing through speculation, insinuation, or selective narratives. The board believes that the people of St. Martin deserve honest leadership, factual discussions, and solutions-oriented governance, not emotionally charged statements that fuel division and instability. The board also wishes to make clear that the issues concerning Minister Brugge are not matters that arose overnight or in recent weeks. The board has been actively engaged on these matters for an extended period and has not remained idle or indifferent regarding documented concerns, including matters relating to conflict of interest and compliance with Article 54 of the Landsverordening Materieel Ambtenarenrecht, LMA. Public meeting of Parliament with the Minister of ECYS, Melissa Gums, regarding the levy on gasoline and diesel to fund sports programs on May 13, 2026.
St. Martin's athletes and sports infrastructure deserve a sustainable, structural, and legally grounded source of financing, one that moves beyond the constraints of the national budget and provides the consistent, long-term investment that sports development requires. A legislative framework, the Sports Fund Ordinance, is currently being drafted, which I will further detail in the following answers. Question 2. What is the current status of the proposed levy on gasoline and diesel for sports funding? The legislative framework is well advanced. A draft sports fund ordinance is being developed, establishing the legal architecture for a dedicated fund as a distinct financial instrument under public law. The draft covers the fund's establishment, its financing sources, management structure, governance, including a proper system of checks and balances, eligibility criteria for funded projects, allocation procedures, and reporting and accountability mechanisms. At its core, the ordinance gives legal expression to the two objectives I have outlined previously: national team development and facility enhancement. Question 3. What were the results of the pilot project conducted under the previous administration by former Minister of ECYS, Dr. Anders Rudolph Samuel? The ministry has been working to establish a complete and verified account of the pilot program conducted under the previous administration, and I want to be transparent with Parliament about where that process currently stands. We've been informed by the Ministry of TEA that a levy of Caribbean Guild of 1 cent per litre was indeed collected during the pilot period. However, the ministry has thus far been unable to confirm the financial trail of those collections, specifically where the funds were earmarked and ultimately allocated. This is precisely the kind of accountability gap that the Sports Fund Ordinance, with its dedicated banking structure, independent fund administrator, and mandatory auditing requirements, is designed to permanently address. In order to establish the facts with certainty, the ministry has now requested from the Customs Department the fuel import invoices covering the possible relevant period. These invoices will allow us to verify whether the levy was in fact applied at the point of import, as this will be reflected in the customs documentation. Once that data is received and reviewed, the ministry will be in a position to provide Parliament with a full and substantiated account of what was collected, if anything, and to follow up on the question of where those funds ultimately resided. Question 4, what were the financial results of the pilot project? Please refer to my response to question 3. Question 5, what hindered the process from continuing forward with a permanent levy on gasoline and diesel to fund sports? Several factors have contributed to the time it has taken to move from concept to formal legislation. The question of scope required careful deliberation. Limiting the levy to gasoline was a starting point, but expanding to diesel, a fuel type with far broader commercial and industrial use, introduces socio-economic considerations that must be assessed before the rate and any applicable exemptions can be fixed in law. We did not want to legislate hastily and then be faced with unintended economic harm to residents or businesses. Second, and perhaps most significantly, the institutional design of the fund itself required fundamental reconsideration. The initial model envisioned a structure similar to the crime fund administered internally. Upon closer examination, however, the ministry concluded that this approach would expose the fund to the same vulnerabilities that have historically weakened public financing mechanisms on the island: limited operational independence, susceptibility to shifting political priorities, and insufficient separation between policy authority and financial execution. In other words, a model needed to be designed that takes effect quickly and provides assurance in terms of governance, accountability, and a robust system of checks and balances. We made the deliberate decision to move toward a more robust governance model. The framework now being finalized, the ministry retains its proper policy role, setting the fund's strategic priorities and annual funding directions on the basis of input from the Department of Sports, while the operational and financial management of the fund is entrusted to an independent fund administrator. That administrator will be subject to dedicated fiduciary obligations, professional fund management standards, and independent auditing and compliance mechanisms. The redesign took time, but it was time well spent. The result is a fund architecture with legal safeguards that is more transparent, more durable, and more capable of delivering its mandate. Question 6. What is needed from Parliament to assist with making this legislation a reality? No specific action is currently required. The legislation is being finalized, will be submitted to the statutory advisory bodies for review, and will be presented to Parliament for consideration in due course. At this time, we respectfully request that the proposal be considered promptly when it is presented.
MP Sarah Westcott-Williams says the Kingdom must repair the damage caused by the UN vote abstention on slavery. In light of the recent reaction by Kingdom Minister of Foreign Affairs, Berenson, in defense of the Kingdom's abstention during the UN vote on a resolution declaring the transatlantic slave trade the gravest crime against humanity. Member of Parliament Sarah Westcott-Williams says the explanation offered thus far falls short of what is required. MP Westcott-Williams confirmed that she also has formally requested clarity from the Prime Minister of Sint Maarten through parliamentary questions, seeking answers on the Kingdom's position, the role and involvement of the countries within the Kingdom, and the implications of the abstention for ongoing conversations about reparations, acknowledgement, and reconciliation. According to Westcott-Williams, a simple promise to do better in the future is not sufficient. This vote by the Kingdom will live on and will inevitably make future attempts at reparations and reconciliation appear disingenuous. She emphasized that statements of regret, apologies, and commitments to confront the legacy of slavery lose credibility when they are contradicted by actions on the international stage. The abstention sends the wrong signal, particularly to Caribbean people whose ancestors endured centuries of exploitation and whose societies continue to experience the structural consequences of that history, the MP stated. Westcott-Williams further argued that the Kingdom now has an obligation to repair the political and moral damage caused by the abstention and to demonstrate, through clear and principled action, that its commitment to reparatory justice is sincere. This abstention by the Kingdom needs to be repaired, she concluded. The MP noted that the responses from the Sint Maarten Prime Minister will help clarify whether Sint Maarten was consulted or informed beforehand, and whether the interests and sensitivities of the Caribbean countries within the Kingdom were adequately represented in the Kingdom's final position.
Social and health insurance is your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah, your social and health insurances.
Public meeting of Parliament for deliberations with Patrice Gums, the Minister of Romy, on the outstanding roadwork debt, $500,000 to the asphalt plant company has been paid since the minister was in office in 2024. The reference to the dying amounts has been paid. It took some time to settle these deaths, as most of the work had been carried out without approved advice, which had to be prepared retroactively and caused significant delays, said the Minister of Vromi.
MP Duran's fifth question: why hasn't the alleged outstanding roadwork debt, 500,000 kilos to the asphalt plant company, been paid since the minister was in office since 2024? The reference outstanding amounts have been paid. It took some time to settle these debts as most of the works have been carried out without an approved advice, which had to be prepared retroactively and caused significant delays. Question number 6. What is the plan for the road repairs and use of CapEx funds, including what remains of the capital expenditure budget? The remaining balance for the main roads resourcing project stood at 285,000 guilders, 285,827 guilders at the end of 2025. We are awaiting finalized invoices on works executed since then to reconcile our budget and determine what is remaining and what can be done. MP's seventh question: what is the status of the wastewater management project to put home connections starting from the entrance of Guanabay, as mentioned as 15 million guilders investment? The ministry is unaware of a 15 million guilder investment directed to sewage house connections in Guanabay or the entrance of Guanabay. The only investment that was made in Guanabay in terms of sewage was during the construction of the Hope Estates Phase 1 and 2 in 2011. The eighth question: what were the terms of reference requirements so difficult as to be nearly impossible to meet? And was advice given to the minister to use a different approach? If yes, what advice was given? The ministry is of the opinion that the requirements set out in the tour were not nearly impossible to meet. It must also be noted that the ministry took deliberate steps to remove a key barrier that had been present in previous tenders, namely the bank guarantee requirement. Under the previous tour, contractors were required to provide a bank guarantee for a percentage of the contract price, which in practice posed significant difficulty for local contractors to obtain and tied up substantial working capital. Based on legal advice received, the ministry took the position that bank guarantees of this nature are more traditionally associated with construction and infrastructure projects, where capital risk and asset delivery are central, and the requirement was disproportionate to the nature of a service-based waste collection contract. The risk profile of a service contract can be adequately managed through other contractual mechanisms, including the performance-based monitoring, penalty, and default provisions already built into terms of reference. By removing this requirement, the ministry has lowered a significant barrier to entry while maintaining strong contractual safeguards. No advice was given to the minister to fundamentally change the overall approach to the tender. The MP's ninth question: has the minister conducted an evaluation of departmental revenue, income, performance, permits, inspections, etc., and what is the plan to fix what is going wrong? The current situation indicates that revenue performance is not attributable to a single cause, but rather a combination of structural and operational challenges, as well as identifiable opportunities for improvement. These challenges include outdated fee structures, manual and fragmented processes, capacity constraints, enforcement gaps, and suboptimal billing overflows. The ministry is currently engaged in two key initiatives aimed at improving service delivery, particularly within the permitting process and domain-related processes. The introduction of digitalization and automation is expected to enhance not only serviceability and the overall user experience, but also strengthen administrative efficiency, transparency, and revenue capture. With respect to domain affairs, the ministry has engaged in an external firm to support reduction of existing backlogs and to improve internal departmental processes. In parallel, work has commenced on drafting a comprehensive land issuance policy and an accompanying land pricing policy, which are expected to provide clearer frameworks and improve consistency and accountability going forward. Regarding permits, the ministry has recently expanded its internal capacity to increase departmental output and improve the timelines of permits issuance to the general public. Additionally, earlier discussions have commenced with VNGI to explore opportunities for automating elements of the permit evaluation process with the objective of further improving efficiency, consistency, and overall throughput. With respect to enforcement, the ministry regularly undertakes remedial actions to address undesirable or illicit situations in the public domain in the interest of public safety, order, and environmental protection. At present, however, the mechanisms through which government can recover costs with these interventions, particularly where such situations arise from unlawful actions, are not yet comprehensively structured. The ministry is therefore actively working on establishing the legal grounding and standard operating procedures, SOPs, required to execute enforcement actions more effectively, while also providing a clear and enforceable means for the recovery of costs incurred by government.
The Minister of Public Health regarding the state of affairs of the St. Martin General Hospital and the importance of the hospital to the community. In that regard, we remain in regular engagement with the hospital's management to monitor progress and to ensure that any delays are properly addressed. Let me be clear. While the contractual accountability rests with the hospital and its contractor, the government expects that all available remedies, including the layers of damages, are enforced where applicable and that decisive corrective actions are taken without further delay. The Minister speaking to the Members of Parliament on May 12, 2026.
The importance of the hospital to the community. In that regard, we remain in regular engagement with the hospital's management to monitor progress and to ensure that any delays are properly addressed. Let me be clear. While the contractual accountability rests with the hospital and its contractor, the government expects that all available remedies, including delays, damages, are enforced where applicable, and that decisive corrective actions are taken without further delay. Following question: what is the official and final completion date government is committing to? Give me the official complete date. Madam Chair, the official date of completion is July 22nd, 2026. St. Martin Medical Center and the contractor are currently discussing the new dates of completion. While no final date has been agreed, the current target date in discussions with the contractors are expected handover of the main building June 30th, 2027, and expected project completion date December 31st, 2027 for contractor scope. It is expected that the medical center scope of work, office building, parking, helicopter platform will start as of 2028. Dates given, Madam Chairlady, through you, in my opinion, projected. So I'm doing a disclaimer. These are the dates that are given to us by the St. Martin Medical Center, and we hope that they meet it.
Willemstad, Rob Jetton arrived in Curaçao on Wednesday afternoon for an official working visit focused on strengthening cooperation and dialogue within the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Jetton was welcomed at Curaçao International Airport Hato by Curaçao Prime Minister Guilmar Pisas. The visit marks the conclusion of Jetton's first official tour of the 6 Caribbean islands within the Kingdom since becoming Dutch Prime Minister. According to the Curaçao government, the visit is centered on reinforcing dialogue, cooperation, and relations within the Kingdom, with particular attention being given to sustainable development and social resilience. Jetton's program includes meetings with representatives from the public sector, social organizations, and the business community. He is also expected to visit several local projects and initiatives during his stay. The Dutch Prime Minister previously visited Curaçao in 2023 in his former role as the Netherlands Minister for Climate and Energy. Officials described the working visit as an important moment in maintaining continued cooperation and mutual trust between Curaçao and the Netherlands. The visit comes at a time when discussions within the kingdom increasingly focus on economic resilience, geopolitical developments in the Caribbean region, sustainability, energy transition, and social development.
Now for the weather forecast, tonight through Thursday evening. Partly cloudy and breezy. Brief isolated showers are likely. Surface winds, tonight through Thursday evening, east-southeasterly with a gentle to moderate breeze at 10 to 16 mph and possible higher gusts. State of the sea, slight to moderate waves, swells, 3 to 5 feet outlook through Friday evening. Fair to partly cloudy and breezy with brief isolated showers possible. And now your 3-day forecast.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurance.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurance.
JNIS presentation, the Mac School performance at the Bel Air Community Center in Cahill on May 5th, 2026.
Surrender my will to yours.
This is our SXM Daily Newscast. Thank you for joining us.